Hello and welcome to our podcast series, Conversations with KidsPeace. I'm Bob Martin. In the past on the podcast, we've touched on an important aspect of the quality of care we provide to kids in our hospital and residential treatment programs, the use of interdisciplinary teams. These are groups of professionals of different areas of expertise and complementary skill sets who work with clients and their families to develop and implement individualized treatment approaches that meet the specific needs of the client. We wanted to investigate this a little further, and so we invited Laura Haas, Director of Social Services at KidsPeace Children's Hospital, to join us on this episode. Here's our conversation. Laura Haas, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Now, you head up the Social Services Department at KidsPeace Children's Hospital. Can you give us an idea of what that department does? What is its function in that program?
So the Social Services Department is primarily responsible for providing therapy services. We also coordinate aftercare services for the children in our care when they discharge, and we are liaisons for community providers as well. The Social Services Department also is responsible for client rights. We review client grievances and customer complaints and work for resolution on all of those. We also collect appreciation comments and other satisfactions that are provided and share that with our teams. So
really kind of the connective tissue, if you will, of what we're doing. Why do you believe that the interdisciplinary approach is important for the kids that we're seeing in the hospital?
I think that an interdisciplinary approach is really integral to person-centered, comprehensive psychiatric care. By bringing the different disciplines together and having them share their expertise, their experience, and their knowledge, I think they're able to really provide that individualized care that each child needs and support each other in making treatment decisions.
On that score, do the clients, do the families, do they understand the range of disciplines and expertise areas that are being brought to bear on their situation through this approach of KidsPeace?
In my experience, it varies what people's experiences have been or their ideas are of what to expect in the hospital. So that's part of what we do all together, all the disciplines as a team from admission throughout the stay, is to educate them on what the different roles of the different team members are. So the treatment teams are comprised of psychiatric medical providers, nurses, clinicians. We also have case managers and utilization management representatives, and all of those people come together to provide their input from their perspective on each child's case.
And that's really why we wanted to do this, because it's to me it's fascinating the level of expertise that's being sort of brought to the table in all of this, and I'm wondering, and specifically, your department kind of is the department for the clinicians that are involved. Can you give us an idea of some of the things that they do through this interdisciplinary approach that maybe people wouldn't necessarily, from the outside, realize right away?
So for our treatment teams, the clinicians are the primary point of contact. So our treatment teams meet every morning, Monday through Friday, and that's where everybody shares their updates, the plan, where they are with discharge planning, all of those types of things. And the clinician is really expected to pull that all together. And then when they meet with the family, or if they're having contact with the family, then they provide those updates on that progress. So sometimes families will think that they should be getting calls from all different people on the treatment team, but really most of that we filter through the clinician, and then they're able to work together and in collaboration with other treatment team members if they need to. But that is definitely one of the things that they do. The clinicians also provide the therapy services, like I said. So they are expected to meet with children and their families each week at least 3 times. And that is a combination of individual and family therapy sessions, really focused on processing the reason for admission and safety planning, and then preparing for discharge. They also run process groups on each module. And so those are other things that are incorporated into the treatment and the schedule for clients.
It's really an important role, especially because you can imagine families can imagine, the angst they may feel, the anxiety they may feel, and they need to have somebody who can speak to them about this is what's going on. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of responsibility on those folks. I want to talk about 2 areas of therapy. You mentioned that they're kind of the therapeutic professionals that are coming to bear on these issues, and it's art therapy and music therapy. So let me just start, how do those approaches come about in terms of the treatment plan? Are they things that are calculated because of the diagnosis of the client's issues, or some other judgment that goes into play about how music therapy or art therapy gets incorporated into what the treatment plan says should be done?
So right now we have 2 full-time music therapists in the hospital, and we have 1 art therapist who's in a flex position. Those expressive therapies or creative therapies, we have them integrated into the treatment through the groups that they provide. In that way, all the children in the hospital receive that type of therapy. So for our full-time music therapists, they provide process groups on each module each week. So each child has the opportunity to participate in that. For art, typically during the school year, individual sessions are provided, but for the summer, we do have art group sessions occurring on each module. For individual sessions, typically those are children that are identified that may need additional support. Maybe they've been in the hospital longer than our average length of stay, or maybe there are just some other treatment needs that are identified by the treatment team. And so they work in collaboration with the expressive therapist to provide that additional support, because the music and art therapies are able to provide an intervention in different modalities, beyond just like the typical talk therapy. And so that really can be an asset for kids that maybe have had a crisis or have something else going on that is maybe a barrier to them making progress.
It's almost like another pathway that they could use that might be less uncomfortable or less barrier for them to do that. I was wondering if you had an example of how these expressive therapies might have helped a child, might have helped a client get through some of this.
I did bring some quotes that we have collected. The music therapists, part of what they do is survey clients from time to time, whether it be from groups or after individual sessions, just to get some feedback. And so I can give you
let's hear.
The first one is, we love to listen to music and it calms us. Another one is, music group helps soothe my stress and anxiety. Another one is, I feel better than before. The music was really helpful and calming. And the last one that I have is, music therapy helps me make listening to music a coping skill and a habit. It's always there for us.
And I think those are really important quotes, because they go to the point of what we're trying to do with so many kids is to give them the tools necessary to regulate their emotions, cope with crisis feelings, that sort of thing, and to let them know that something they really enjoy, like music or art, can be one of those. I think is a huge comfort to them, and also I'm sure moves along the question of how effective the treatment is. So
it helps them to, sometimes maybe they know, maybe they are able to play a music instrument that they wouldn't typically have access to in our setting. And so there's some sort of modality or other instrument or something that our music therapists can provide to give them that outlet. For other kids, they're discovering how music can be a coping skill for them, and it is something that they can have with them when they go back to wherever they're discharging to, and that they can access in different ways. So it can be a really positive thing.
And I think it's one of those things. I always think that when kids are having fun and they're learning, they focus on the fun, not necessarily the learning, but the learning happens. And so we're kind of doing it, kind of slyly here, and to say, "Oh, I learned this," but what I really remember is how much fun I had in doing that drawing or playing that piece, and
Right.
That's great.
They don't realize that they're learning impulse control, or that they're respecting other people's boundaries, or taking turns in the groups, or that they're learning to self-regulate and do all of those kinds of things, all of those therapeutic things while they're engaged in that activity.
Absolutely. Laura, we ask each of our guests, to end our conversation with a life hack. This can be favorite saying, piece of inspiration, maybe just a tip on how to do something better around the house or whatever. So what's your life hack for us today?
So I brought a quote. I like quotes. I think that they're helpful to me. I have some in my office, some in my home. And so I wanted to share one from Rachel Hollis. She's an author, a blogger, and a motivational speaker. And the quote is this: "The world needs your spark. The world needs your energy. The world needs you to show up for your life and take hold of your potential."
And that quote is obviously so important to the kids that we take care of. They need to know that they have that value, that the world needs their spark, but also the rest of us do as well.
It's a good reminder.
Laura Haas is Director of Social Services at KidsPeace Children's Hospital. Laura, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for joining us as well. We look forward to having you join us again for more conversations with KidsPeace. Until then, take care.